Alright, so today we're going to talk about how to use the industrial mold to mold the object you want. Okay, so before we starting, we're going to mold this object inside here. So you can use any non-permanent glue to glue the object into a custom box like this one. Okay, so before we pour the mold into the object, you must always remember that you must put the mold release to brush on the surface of the item. Okay, so you can use this kind of flat tip brush with a, a tips of the mold release. You just need to brush a very thin layer on the surface of the object. So the purpose for applying the mold release is to prevent the sticking of the industrial mold with the object, because certain painting or certain material will causing the mold to stick with the object. So you must apply the mold release only a thin layer on the surface. Okay, so this is thin layer. So how to justify a thin layer and a thick layer? Okay, so object like this one, with the shape and the carving, so you only need to brush a very thin layer. Okay, so it's like this one only. The thin layer is like this one. As long as you can see it with the eye level, something on the surface, then this is already done. Okay, so after we brush the mold release on the object, so we're going to proceed for the next. Okay, so for the mold, industrial mold, there's alright, so this is the mold and this is the hardener. So ratio is 100 gram for, and the hardener is 1 gram. Okay, so for this case, we're going to use a syringe to pump up this one for 1 gram and put into this one. So this is a 1 ml syringe. Yep. So you can see 1 ml, right? So you have to always close this tight because the air will dry out the catalyst of the hardener. Okay, so just put on it. So we have to stir it. So during this process, you must stir it truly, meaning during the stirring process, you have to scrape the side and also the bottom here. You have to scrape it. And always during the stirring, right, you have to like get it clean of your stick, so to ensure every bit of the mold is combined with the hardener. If you do not do this correctly during this process, after you put into the mold, you will be seeing some part of the mold like not curing well or sticking to each other after like more than 1 day. So during this process, it's very important for you to stir it well. And also for your cup that you're using, right? If you're using a cup with this kind of like shape, you have to ensure that during the scraping, right, you have to scrap it also. Okay. So after that, you can see it for when you're using the mold, right? It's always good if you have the vacuum chamber, because during your stirring process, right, a lot of the air will stick into the mold. So it will affect your outcome if you do not have the vacuum chamber, but it's also have a alternative way to prevent the bubbles become lesser in your mold. But it's always best to have a vacuum chamber to vacuum all the air out. But for this case, we're not going to use the vacuum chamber, so we're going to use another technique. So during this one, right, you take your cup up high against the object, so you can see it drop slowly like that one, to get to make sure the less bubble get inside it. Okay, so this is how you're going to do it. This is a very simple case, but you can see there's still a lot of bubble trapping inside. That's why when you're using the industrial mold, right, it's best for you to use the vacuum chamber. So let me give you the result for using a vacuum chamber and without a vacuum chamber. So this one is without the vacuum chamber. You can see there's a bubble on the surface, right? You can see on the surface, this is the final object already, and this one is with the vacuum chamber. You can see the surface is clean and very minimum bubbles. So that's the difference when you're using a vacuum chamber and without one. Okay, you can see the difference. So that's all. Okay, so after the mold already become a shape, then you pour the what we call that, we pour the resin into the mold. So when you take up the mold, right, this is the resin product. So this is the mold we use. Okay,